on TalkSport.
It most certainly is, and I'm delighted to welcome back to the show. He's been on before. Thomas Robertson, Everton fan supreme from the Toffee Blues podcast, which is available from all good podcast providers. Very fast, very funny, and very informative. And I've got some facts and stats for Thomas, which no doubt will double check for us. But Thomas, so beyond excited, I mean, there ought to be a word for it, because there's also going to be a rather sad occasion, I thought, in some ways. Maybe not sad, melancholy.
I mean, there'll be a bit of that, but I'm sure when the match starts, that's all going to kind of go out the window, to be honest. I mean, I'm already really excited for it, but yeah, I mean, there will be a touch of that in the air, but yeah, as I said, that's going to go out the window.
Now, some of the 11-year-olds in the office were stunned when we worked out that across their 190 meetings at Goodison Park, there are only 6 goals between the two teams, slightly in Liverpool's favour then, but only if it's a hugely long football match, it'd be 141 Everton, 147 Liverpool, so you barely could get a cigarette paper between the two sides as far as stats go.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, those stats have been coming out over the past few weeks that I've seen, and it does seem a bit ridiculous to think about now, yeah.
And what do you make of the move? I mean, I know, things change, things are going to develop, sport is a business, football's certainly a huge business, but there's something very special about Everton, I think, isn't there? What is it called locally, the Grand Old Lady?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the move just kind of had to happen, really. It was kind of on the cards for years and years. It's going to be really exciting anyway. Of course, this season is going to be sad. Like, there will be a lot of sadness come the end of the year, but this is a move that's been a long time in the making. So yeah, I'm sure everyone's really excited.
So, Thomas, can I ask with you as well, Paul? Because being a West Ham fan, the last season at Upton Park, it felt very emotional. But was that because you didn't want to leave Upton Park? Whereas Everton fans,
I didn't want to leave because we don't own the new ground. We sold the silver, and that was Gold and Sullivan. They did it at Birmingham as well, and it means we get a great deal at London Stadium, funded by the taxpayer. It's deeply unfair, I think, but more importantly, we've got no real home.
But I feel like every time I hear an Everton fan talk about moving, they seem excited to move, whereas I never got that sense.
Stadium looks fantastic, though, doesn't it?
So yeah, I suppose you've kind of just come to terms with goodbye Goodison then, finally, then, Thomas.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I've come to terms with it fully yet, but it will get to a stage. I feel it's a completely different situation to West Ham, really, purely because Bramley Moore's purpose built, for us. We're not moving into London Stadium, and I mean, let's be honest, London Stadium's just an abysmal ground, and there's kind of no two ways around that. But like Bramley Moore, I mean, it looks like absolutely unbelievable. So yeah,
and of course you've got from the London Stadium, ludicrously dispensed with his services, of course, the West Ham board, David Moyes, the return of the conquering hero. He's got 3 consecutive games. Well, that was a remarkable achievement given the turnaround he had to face with what was bequeathed to him. And no disrespect to old Sean Dyche, but actually David Moyes is different class these days.
Yeah, well, let's see for the rest of the season, to be honest. I mean, I'm never going to fully criticise Sean Dyche. I think the time was right for him to go. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, the job he did for us while he was here was just absolutely incredible, considering what he was up against. But, yeah, look, it's been an excellent kind of new manager bounce. Let's hope it continues going forwards. But, I mean, it feels weird every season when we're in these relegation battles, and then all of a sudden you win a few games and everything just feels completely different. But there's still a long season to go.
Were you part of? Were you happy with Moyes coming back, mate? Because we had quite a mixed response from Everton fans. It was mainly negative, I'm afraid to say, but I'd never got that about David Moyes coming back. There was quite a negative reaction.
I think
from
people maybe
fans.
thought maybe thought it was uninspired. I don't know.
Yeah, were you in the Moyes in or not too keen camp?
I was all for it, to be honest. I haven't really got the opinion that it was that negatively received. I don't know, just not from my side. But I think it was a no-brainer at the end of the day. Yeah. Like, you're not going to go out. The new owners wouldn't want to go out and make some random appointment that would take a lot of time to bed in. David Moyes was just the absolutely correct choice. I couldn't see basically any other name out there that was realistic at all, and obviously for him it was a no-brainer as well.
Now Markolenko might be back this week for the game tonight, is that right? Because of course he missed the Saturday FA Cup defeat against Bournemouth. Could we turn in place of Ashley Young?
Yeah, to be honest, by the sounds of it looked like it was maybe just a bit of a risk to play him at the weekend. Like, it didn't sound like it was going to be a major injury. So yeah, hopefully he is back.
And what have you made overall of, for example, Everton's business, such as it was over the January window? I mean, it's traditionally a time when not much gets done, whereas Man City seem to find, I don't quite know where, about 200 million quid to spend.
Yeah, well, I never anticipated us spending 200 million. No. I think the problem was, I mean, as you said, nothing really happens in the January window anyway. And considering we've had to put up with so many seasons now where we've barely spent any money, and by the sounds of it, if we were now just going to waste money in January, then we'd kind of be back on the back foot in the summer window. So I think there's more than enough in the team anyway. Like when we came out of the summer window going into this season, I felt like we were a bit stronger than we were last season anyway.
Yeah.
And when we weren't where we should be, to be honest. So I didn't even think we needed massively strengthening that much. And by the sounds of it, the injuries to the strikers don't actually sound too bad in the end. So I'm not too fussed, to be honest, as long as we can have a good summer.
Now, I hesitate to ask this next question because I've listened to your podcast a few times, the Trophy Blues podcast, and you avoid the old cliches, as they say, like a plague. But there's a question that's almost a joke, which is about the mood in the camp. Let me ask if it's possible to quantify what's the feeling like around Goodison, or around Everton, maybe not Goodison Park, you're not there much longer. I mean, are people still nervous at the end of the season? I mean, you're pulling away from the drop zone, but think you've got, 13, 14 games left, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much time to go. I don't think anyone's getting ahead of themselves by any means. But you know, when you stick together 3 wins, at the end of the day, like, I mean, the Premier League at this point, the old kind of 40 points to stay up is long gone. Let's be honest, it's normally in the 35, 36 area. So when you've picked up 9 points in a short amount of time, I mean, we did it last season with the points deduction. You know, as soon as we got those 10 points off, we then won like 4 on the bounce. So I don't think anyone's getting ahead of themselves. Don't get me wrong, but there's not that much further to go.
And you have got one great record, which Kane discovered. Everton's 10 red cards in home games against Liverpool's is the most by any team against an opponent at any single stadium in the competition. So congratulations on that. Keep that one going.
I was watching some of the videos from Merseyside derbies in the years gone by, and the 90s ones looked very feisty. The mid-90s, late 90s.
Young Steven Gerrard is practically...
He was throwing himself in as well. He got sent off as well in his early days. But some of the Duncan Ferguson challenges, Thomas Gravison, you've had some proper hard players. I've loved this derby very much. But I must say, mate, I'm going to apologise in advance because Southampton, my team, are the final game at Goodison Park. So we'll probably end up winning there.
That's 3 points in the bag for you then, Thomas.
We won the last game at Main Road against Man City, so we've got history. So I apologise in advance for that one.
You always have to drag Southampton into conversation. I can only apologise for that, Thomas.
No, that's fine. I'm pretty sure we're the only side that Southampton can pick up points against this season. So.
Our first win this season. It should be a good game, mate. What are you going for? Because I can see a potential slip-up here from Liverpool.
Thomas, why don't we allow what we allow on the Friday when we do the preview of the Game Day Live kick-off game? You can have one from the head and one from the heart, if you like.
With my heart, I'm going to go 2-0, I'd say. Kind of get one in the first half.
Please. Yeah, please. Oh.
With my head... 0-0, let's be honest, most of these end in a draw, but I could, I'm not even unconfident, to be honest. Like, I'm kind of just really excited to get into it, really.
Huge thanks then to our pal Thomas Robertson. Make sure you download the Trophy Blues podcast, available on good podcast providers.